Right, a little bit about tubes and fixings. Now, as long as I can remember, I've loved tubes. I do like my flat bands, but for specific reasons, I do like tubes, i.e. shooting in windy conditions, and the longevity and how easy it is to damage flat bands really when you're in a sort of a working environment. It's not really good. It's alright if you're just setting out for one specific purpose, but anyone that shoots a lot of bands knows, you know, flat bands, they do break at the most unexpected times, and then people, it ain't my bag carrying around loads of band sets and pissballing about trying to fit them together. So with me, being a traditional sort of person, you know, traditional, you know, strods and tabs, and these tubes here on this particular one that I used a lot was the 9050s. I think these are, yeah, 9050s. They do have a surprisingly soft draw, so I've always used these either whipped to tabs, which is the most safe method, or I used to fix them in this one or any similar top drilled natural with it would be the 90mm the 9mm tube with the 9mm fixing, which has never failed on me ever. Then I recently changed because I wanted a more powerful tube, and after a lot of searching I settled for these FAMG, which are quite cheap. FAMG bands, they're good in cold weather. They're only 8mm, 80/40s these are, but they do have a really solid draw. They retract quickly and they push heavy leads at really good speeds that will do a lot of damage at the other end, which is what I'm all about, doing damage. I did go down the route recently of very nearly losing an eye because what I've done is I had these new FAMG bands and I did attach them with the ball method, and I've been shooting catapults since I was 6 years old, and I've always checked the bands before I fire them, but I didn't. I was working indoors, this was laying on the side with these bands on. I'll come out, I'll give it a big draw, just like I do, habit, muscle memory. The ball pulled out and this thing came back and hit me in the eyeball. It was like Indiana Jones cracking in the eyeball with a whip. I walked indoors, my missus knew straight away I was in trouble. I swear to God, I really thought I'd lost my eye. My eye resembled a glacier cherry. You couldn't have done better with a horsewhip. My eye was, I had to go to hospital and thought I had a detached retina, but it was very swollen. I had 3 bleeds in my eye. I was in a right pickle, which a man of my age shouldn't be getting in with a catapult. That's the sort of thing you do when you're a kid, isn't it? But it sort of gave me a bit of post-traumatic stress with these bands and the tube, because of what it is. Where the draw on these is so light, the ball would never pull through them. But with these, you really got to eat your porridge before you pull these back. And obviously the pressure was too much for the ball on the other end, and actually popped. And it was this one come back, hit me straight in my master eye. It could have hit me in the other eye, I couldn't have cared less. But this eye, everything works on. Catapults, guns, throwing a stone, everything works on this eye. And it was quite depressing to think that I was going to lose sight in that way, because I really did for a while there. So going down the route of still wanting to use these and not using a ball, I've now, if you see, wooden dowels, and they're 1 inch long, and they're in the front of the tube back up into the wood here. And I've tested them and pulled them and tested them. See, that's my draw. I don't have an anchor and all that old cobblers. That's my draw, and I'll just look at the target, and I'll let my instincts do the rest. So there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of I haven't even put a pair of scales on this, but it's up there. That's a heavy pull. If I put a pair of scales on it, I'll be able to tell you, but I don't like to get too worried about all that. But that's my drawer, and these tubes and the ball just weren't having it, but them pegs are. So if you're ever going to go down the route, because I know I've got a few people do copy stuff I do out there, if you're going to go down the route of using these tubes, these fancy tubes, and you're going for a ball, you know, like through the top of the tube and fixing it with something up the tube, do not use a ball. Go for a wooden dowel. You get them from B&Q, standard wooden dowel, just taper the ends down, wedge them up in there. Don't be putting detergents on it or anything that can weaken the rubber and make it snap, or washing up liquids. Just a little bit of spit, push it up in there, pull it in, pull it tight. Look at that, look, that is never coming out, not in a million years, but the ball will. So that's all I've got to say on that one. And I've still got my eyeball and it still works to a fashion. Cushy.